Hello everybody, I am Ross, the GeneaVlogger, and welcome back to another professional Genealogist Reacts. On today's video, I will be reacting to Taking a DNA Test, Which Nations Am I From? By Durnil. Durnil is one of those channels where I've heard of him. He's a gaming channel. He's pretty big, 739,000 followers. I personally have not really watched his channel. There's a chance that I may have seen a video or two of his in the past, but I can't really remember. But I have had a few people request this video, so figured I'd go ahead and do that. I don't know anything about his background. I did look up just like a basic page of him, and I think it said he was born in Alabama or something. I know it was somewhere in the South. I think it was Alabama. Maybe it was Mississippi. I don't know. So I really don't know what to expect, but if he is from that area, depending on if he may have like Cajun or Creole ancestry, he may have some very interesting results. You know, obviously I'd probably expect some sort of French-German mixture in there if he does have that ancestry. Very possible to see some Native American, depending, even some African. And yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, I know he looks like a white guy, but before we do jump into the video, please be sure to give this a like. It really does help me out. Also, be sure to subscribe and click that bell for notifications on future videos. But with that all said, let's go ahead and jump into the video.
You guys have always asked me to take a DNA test to figure out exactly where my ancestors came from, because I had no idea up until this point. And I have two different results from two different companies. They're kind of the same, but kind of different at the same time. This is going to be interesting because we talk so much about history and the world and different places on the map. Basically been in California my whole life, so yeah, insert your commie jokes here. But one thing I've never revealed, one thing that I can't believe I'm finally going to talk about, is I was actually born in the state of Alabama.
Okay, it was Alabama.
Montgomery, Alabama. I was born here. I didn't stay for long. I guess we just had happened to stroll by, and then I just popped out. Okay. But that is correct. So, anyways, I asked my great-grandma when I was, like, really young, like, where we were from, and she always told me...
Interesting. He knew his great-grandma. I just recently had a poll on the channel. Many of you may have been involved in that poll. If you're not, go to my page, look in the community section, and you'll see I do polls all the time about family trees and stuff like that. But the recent one was, have you ever met any of your great-grandparents, and if so, how many? So that, you know, it's a really lucky thing to know your great-grandparent and to have the wherewithal to ask them about your family history. I knew two of my great-grandmothers. I remember talking about family photos with one of them, but I don't really remember ever asking specific stuff about the family, which I totally wish I did, because especially for one of my great-grandmothers, I know almost nothing about her parents, and almost everything that I have discovered has been very basic facts, so I don't really know a full narrative of her parents for the most part. Yeah, it's cool. He's lucky to have had that and have had the wherewithal, so that's going to make this really interesting.
Told me England and Germany. I feel like England and Germany were the two places, so I just kind of assumed like that was probably it. And I mean, those were kind of seen in the results, kind of. And real quick, spoiler alerts, this is gonna shock a lot of you. I'm really white. So if you're expecting some crazy results, it ain't gonna happen, okay? I knew it was gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. Just wanted to warn you right now.
You never know.
Any sort of Native American as well. Like many people in the U.S., I had rumors in my family that we had some sort of native blood or something like that. Nope. I know. Really surprising there. I'm so tan. I saw this map before I got the test back, and this is basically showing where all the natural blonde people are in Europe. So I figured like this is probably where all the hits were gonna be. I'm still blonde, as you can tell, obviously, but I was way more blonde as a kid, and I think one day I'll probably be having like some brown hair, I'm assuming, but it's probably safe to say I'm not gonna come from Spain or Italy, unfortunately. By the way, before I move forward, can we get like a map game that looks like this? I'm using Google Earth here to look.
Just because you have blonde hair, that doesn't mean that it's going to be coming from every single line of your family. There's going to be a lot of ancestry. There's a lot of ancestry people may have that's not even going to show up in the DNA test, just because that DNA has over time recombined to the point that you really don't have a significant amount, or you may not inherit any of it. Like you could have a third or fourth great grandparent, let's say, that was like fully Native American, and then you get no Native American DNA just because you didn't inherit it. It's just the randomness of recombination. So, what he's doing, I understand it, but it also kind of, he's jumping to conclusions that are just, he could have an idea that I likely won't have it, but he's saying, so we could definitely say there's not going to be any. I wouldn't say definitely, but you could say that there's a higher likelihood.
Look at stuff, but can you, oh man, this would be so fun. For these first DNA results, I'm using Ancestry.com, which, like I said, I also use MyHeritage. Is very different, or not very, but is kind of different. The percentages were odd, obviously, and I'm not Pacific Islander. Just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah. Okay, surprise, surprise. I am 69%, 69 English, Wales, and Northwestern Europe. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty upset when I first read this because, I don't care where I come from. I just wanted to know exact countries, to be honest. And I was really upset because
so many people want that, but the problem is that your DNA doesn't care about borders. I think I've said that in other videos and people have really liked that, but it's so true. Your DNA doesn't care about borders. Borders change all the time. It's not like if you're going to be living somewhere and then all of a sudden, some big political thing happens and where you're living, you were in one country, now it's a different country, and then all of a sudden your DNA changes to morph into that. It just, if you really think about it, it doesn't make sense. But unfortunately, just because of a lot of commercials and things like that, that's kind of what people think. One reason why I do a lot of these reactions and why I started doing them was to try to help, give information when people, say what they were expecting, what they were hoping, and, aren't sure why they didn't get it. Obviously, we don't know if he figured it out or not. He's just explaining at the beginning. So, but yeah, that's one thing. These DNA tests, they're not going to tell you exactly where you're from. You're going to have to do your family history and genealogy to know exactly where your family lived and, that story. But, this will give you a good idea.
Look at what does this mean? England, Wales, and Northwestern Europe? I don't know.
What it means literally is that in that area that's all being encircled, all of those people, the people that are claiming that all of their ancestry is from these areas, all have DNA that is shared. So that means that everyone in that circled area somewhere back in time have a shared ancestry. And he has that shared ancestry as well. And the reason why it's not more finite is because that shared ancestry is so widely available in that entire area that they can't pinpoint it for certain. That's it.
I wanted to be more specific. And the meme is still alive. That is nice. I could technically still be from Switzerland. It would be so perfect. But anyways, I get it. There's a lot of similar shared history, heritage, culture from these places, especially because people were migrating and things like that. Obviously, people weren't caring about borders. You just roamed around, I guess. But I don't know. It seems like
it's not even that people didn't care about borders. Borders didn't always care about people. Borders have changed a lot. Just 100 years ago, the borders of Europe were completely different than they are now. Probably just even 50 years ago or even 25 years ago. It's just consistently changing.
To group all this in, I know that they continue to update this. We could pinpoint an exact area. It could be France, maybe even Northern Italian. It's possible. Unlikely, I will say that, but possible. And this is also a range. So Ancestry claims that I'm 69%, but it could be anywhere between 67 and 100%. That is kind of crazy, especially considering my second results, because that is not what they claim. Second place, we've got Ireland and Scotland at 20%, but again, that range is anywhere from 0 to 20%. They got me all the way to the top of that range, weirdly. Yeah, so Ireland, Scotland, Wales, maybe Brittany, France. That'd be kind of cool. Kind of funny, though, that I've known a lot of people in the U.S. that are obviously very proud of their Irish heritage, but then they get their results back and they're not even 20%. They're lower than that. I didn't even really consider myself Irish. This is low at least what Ancestry is reporting. So I don't know, but I do like alcohol. So not gonna lie, little disappointed here, Grandma. Little disappointed, you old bag. I'm just kidding, Grandma. I love you. Please don't haunt me. I thought it'd be higher, but range is from 0 to 25. So they're claiming I'm only 8. I think I'm higher than that, but
you also need to remember that with these tests, it's not showing his full ancestry. It's just showing the ancestry based on the DNA he inherited. So he only inherited if it's from his great grandmother, if her family was German and English, like she said, then that would only be 12.5% of his DNA about, if recombination happened perfectly each generation, cutting it in half, meaning 50% of his DNA is from his parent, 25% from a grandparent, and then 12.5% from that great-grandparent. So if he got 8%, that actually makes perfect sense, because that means that of the about 12.5% he inherited from that great-grandmother, that's a little over half, obviously, so it kind of goes with her story. If he's talking to a great grandmother, she's only going to be talking about one family, maybe two, if she's also mentioning her husband's ancestry. And that would mean that then it's his 25% about of his DNA. So it still makes sense, because we're just looking at, percentages of what he inherited. So he's not going to inherit, you don't inherit all of the DNA from all of your ancestors. And so they're only going to be able to make predictions based on what you did inherit.
Hilarious. And you know what? A lot of people have been asking me to do the history of Ulm. I've been doing all these history videos. History of Ulm, I might do it, maybe 500,000 subscribers. When we get to 500,000, if you give me to 500,000, I will do the history of Ulm. That's going to
I didn't realize he did history stuff. I thought he was just a gamer. I probably need to watch more videos of his. But with YouTube, I think a lot of people know there's so many YouTubers out there, and there's so many different channels that, it's easy to stumble on something that you've never really seen before, may have heard of, and it's not exactly what you expected.
have to be a meme video. I don't even know. Can I talk about Ulm for 10, 20 minutes? Again, the range is big. I might be Balkan, for all I know. Again, that'd be cool. I get to hate on all the other Balkan places. And next comes Norway, which is an odd region, to be honest. It's not Scandinavia. It's not Norwegian, Swedish, Denmark, Nordic. You know what I mean? It's just Norway. So I'm assuming...
Did he just say it's not Norwegian? Did I catch that right?
Yeah, it's not Norwegian, Swedish, Denmark, Nordic, you know what I mean? It's just Norway. So I'm assuming they think like some Viking stuff, I know. But yeah, no, these are definitely the places that I assumed I would be coming from. Again, the blonde hair map would be around here, although there was hope I could have been from Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. Here's what's kind of interesting. I'm not going to show like too late into the timeline because I don't want to get sued.
Okay, I see people in your tree, and then it traces back to the 1700s. So he has a family tree built and connected on Ancestry. And I do want to point out this video is from June 26, 2019. So not too long ago, 2 years. Definitely been some updates since then. But if he has his family tree connected to his DNA, that means that when he looks at DNA matches, which maybe he will, that's going to help place his matches into his family. But if you do your DNA matches and you still have cousins who descend from that ancestor that lived in that area, you know that you truly descend from that ancestor, and if they lived in that area, then they truly live there. So that's the true strength of these DNA tests, is the matches and proving the family tree, which then proves your family narrative, as opposed to this kind of vague, like, well, your DNA comes from these areas.
Dude, or something like that. But we can't look at like direct ancestors, I guess, people from my tree. We got 3 people already in the 1700s that I guess I'm related to in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland. But how are they going to claim I'm 8% German when I got a dude living in the Rhine right here? He was living in the Rhine. My 7th...
Just because he's living there doesn't mean he gets that DNA. Just doesn't mean that.
Great-grandfather, George, here, living in the Rhine, just chilling. Man, he actually lived for quite some time. Oh, he would eventually go to Pennsylvania, though. I don't know when that was. So, born in the Rhineland, but then would end up in Pennsylvania. But it's looking like I've got some family that probably fought against the British. 1750s, got all these different people linked over here. Actually, what is this guy doing in Indiana? Hold up. Oh, death in 1844. Okay, that makes a little more sense. I was going to say 1750, he's all the way in Indiana. Did he get captured or something? Oh, I feel so bad. I was like, oh, I got a grandfather chilling in Philadelphia. But that's my grandmother, apparently. Maybe it's still up for debate. Okay, so for the second result, this is interesting. I guess we'll just go down the list.
My heritage.
I've got 0% Oceania, 0% Middle Eastern, 0% Asian. Down the board, come on, I can't get a 0.1. Okay, so this thing is claiming I'm only 47.8% English. And I do like that they're ballsy enough to just say England. I like that a lot, because they're not giving me any sort of, you know, other opportunities to be like, hey, I could be from the Netherlands. I'm actually short, though. I heard you people are really tall, so I guess it makes sense. Then we got 26.3% Irish, Scottish, and Welsh. Not much, but a little bit higher. Again, the range is all over the place, because Ancestry was telling me a completely different range. But this is the biggest revelation. 25.9% Scandinavian. Hinga Dinga Durgan. I knew I loved the Swedish chef for a reason. He was always my favorite character. They're saying a quarter. They don't even have any German. That's it. That's all they're saying. The Scandinavian, Irish, English, that's all they got. I don't know how they came up. I don't know. I know that you look at the code differently or something like that, the DNA evidence, but it's so much. That's such a range to go from 3% Norwegian to 25% Scandinavian. And that's kind of what I expected. I expected a lot more like Northern Europe. This place is claiming I got nothing from North and Western Europe. They're saying I should cross off France, Switzerland, Belgium, the Netherlands, even Germany. That's weird to me. I mean, we saw a direct dude chilling in the Rhineland. I mean, he left the Rhineland for America, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not as German as I initially thought. I guess the technology's always been advanced or something like that, so maybe things will get an update or change. I wouldn't be surprised. Yep. I'm sure that it will change. Maybe I should do the 23andMe one. That was expensive, though. I want to stay away from that. Let me know what you guys got, if you did an Ancestry test or if you had some interesting results. Maybe there's...
You can also upload for free to other databases. There's GEDmatch, which has its Oracle admixtures, where there's tons of different admixture options you can look through, and basically they just define population groups differently in each one. You can also upload a family tree DNA, although you would have to pay for accessing My Origins, which is their ethnicity admixture. 23andMe does not allow uploads, unfortunately, so you do have to pay for a test to get it with them. But there's also, you could do Living DNA, they do uploads. You could do GenieNet, although I don't know if GenieNet does admixtures. I think they just do matches. So yeah, there's different options if he wants to do more, and there have definitely been updates. So I'll have to look and see if he's done any sort of update video.
Some people that can explain some things to me down in the comment section, because I don't understand fully everything. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Sleeper 56, Nick Nagawa.
Okay, that was a decent video. He had a lot of the typical sort of misconceptions that many consumers have with it. He did do what a lot of people do, where they first expect, oh, I hope I get specific countries. They lived here, here, and here, and here. And then they kind of realize, like, oh, well, I guess they can't figure that out because populations move and stuff. And he said that himself. He had a family tree, obviously, built out. And, it was connecting all of his different ancestors to where they lived and showing him. I don't quite know. I'll have to play with the DNA story stuff to see what that is, because I don't really play with that too much when I do research. Although I will say, with how busy I've been, I barely even research my own family tree, unfortunately. So, for all the people messaging me hoping that I'm going to, help them out or, look over their DNA or, whatnot, I really wish I had the time to help you out, but I don't even have the time to work on my own stuff. So, to all those who've messaged me and all of that, I'm sorry if I haven't messaged you back. I'm just so limited on time, and I get, tons of messages a day, not to even mention all of the comments. So if you do have questions for me, asking in the comments is your best chance of getting a response from me, because then at the very least, if I do respond, then it's going to help out other people that are able to read that, as opposed to a private message where, you know, I'll only be able to help out one person. So, you know, I do try to answer as many as I can, but, you know, I'm only human. I have such limited time, and, you know, I just got to do what I got to do. With his video, you know, I think a few things to just kind of reiterate is that, you know, these tests are just doing the ancestry based on the DNA you inherited. So you're missing all sorts of DNA, as I mentioned. So if there is ancestry you may expect to possibly have, it may not show up depending on how far back that is. He obviously had a very well built out family tree. Based on that family tree, it seems that he comes from a fairly American European family that has been around. That's kind of a weird way to put it, I guess. But he comes from one of those American families that has been in America, in the U.S. specifically, for many generations. It seemed like he had a lot of recent ancestry, mostly, or his most recent immigrant ancestors were mostly from like the 1700s and possibly earlier. Kind of wish he'd gone into his matches, especially being that he does have that family tree, and he could look into his through lines, which would start to place where these genetic matches, you know, match him in the tree, who are their shared ancestors. Well, thank you so much for checking out this video. I do hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to give this a thumbs up. It really does help me out. You can also click right about here if you'd like to subscribe. It is completely free to do so. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at GeneaVlogger. I'm the GeneaVlogger. See you in my next video.